What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Talk to Me here on notfest.com. As always, I'm Joshua Toomey, joined by the one and only Chris Akin. Chris, how are we doing today?
Oh, just peachy as always, man. How about you?
I am doing better, man. Before we dive into everything, give us an update on the arm.
Hurts. I don't have a whole lot much more to say. It's getting better slowly, but it still hurts like hell.
Right.
It's I did have a doctor's appointment. It's some sort of damage to the radial nerve, which runs from your neck to your fingers and basically affects every single solitary motion you do, from getting out of bed to taking a shower to laying down to sleep. So, every time I move, it reminds me that it's there and it's wounded. So
wasn't that the Dave Mustaine injury?
No, maybe that's it. Maybe I too fell asleep shooting. Laying on my arm while playing guitar. Yeah, I don't know. I think it is the same thing that Dave had. And if it is, I certainly believe it, because, man, this is a real pain in the ass.
Yeah, I was trying to see if it he fell asleep with his arm over the back of a chair.
Sure he did. Sure he did.
That's the narrative we're going with.
And then he got clean immediately after. Imagine that.
Hey, sometimes you fall. Hey, you've never fallen asleep in a chair and just woke up and now you've got a nerve damage that you can.
Yeah, well, that
jeopardizes the entire rest of your career.
I'm banging on Dave Mustaine here for this, but that's truthfully, in my case, I wish I could say I was shooting heroin and it happened. Instead, I got up and stretched and it happened, waking up in the morning. So maybe it is what happened to Dave, and I've been just bagging on him for no reason for years. Who knows?
I think you're falling apart on us, man.
Well, that I am doing. I will admit that. Fat, 50, and dying.
Oh, man. This week on the podcast, I don't know if I've talked about it on here or not, but interviews will now come out on Mondays.
Ooh.
So Mondays are now Talk to Me interview days, and then the podcast audio Thursday normally, except for this week, and then video on Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern.
Okay.
So we definitely have our time locked in on the YouTube, so you can get over there and you can comment your little head off about how much we suck.
That's right. Please do.
But yeah, great interview this week, man, with Chad Rulig of For the Fallen Dreams.
Okay.
A guy that's been on the show a couple of times, and the first time he was on, he was kind of standoffish or whatever, but he did tell me that he was a fan of Primer back in the day, which I was like,
okay.
Hey, any fan of Primer, you're more than welcome on the show anytime you want.
Sure.
Came on a second time better, but man, this last time he was on the show, just really fell in the groove. And that might be one of my best interviews, where it starts with, how, tell me about the new record, tell me about your approach.
Right.
Really did 25 minutes really based on the one record. I don't really typically dive that deep into recording process. What were you feeling with these emotions, sure, man? And I think I got that through on this last one, man. So 8 years into the show, I finally did an interview right.
Wow, look at you. By year 30 or so, you'll be ready to do it for a national outlet or something.
So it was actually, speaking of that, and this is funny. It's one of those comments that's stuck in my head now. I was kind of randomly scrolling through comments on YouTube, which you should never do. And there is a guy on the Plush interview that hated one of their answers to one of my questions.
Okay.
But then he also hated my questions about that I asked them, and that I leave a lot to be desired as an interviewer. And I was like, so he got mad about their answers, and he was mad about my questions. I was like, man, this guy cannot be satisfied there.
So next time, just don't interview Plush at all.
Right. He goes, why didn't you ask more about why they kicked out the drummer? That just happened. Where's your journalism hat or some bullshit? I was like,
gee, I don't know, because it's a 10-minute interview at a festival, and maybe they're not going to talk about controversy when it's a light interview.
That's where you want to say it. You want to be like, well, these are just 7 to 10 minute interviews, and you're just kind of shooting the shit and whatnot. Yeah. And honestly, that one was, I know that Mariah is friendly with you, so I'm not gonna dive in and be like, tell me all the dirt.
Listen, bitch, what happened?
You will tell me now. But yeah, it's just you just can't you can't please everybody, which I'm finding out quickly on the YouTube.
No, you can't. You just have to have alligator skin when it comes to the comments, because most of them are fucking dummies anyway. So who cares?
Right. But another thing with Chad, man, I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast or not, but actually when Primer 55 had a show last year kind of on the books, like ready to go, and we needed a vocalist, I was thinking back to the people I've interviewed and that I've got some sort of a relationship with. And Chad Rulig of For the Fallen Dreams, obviously said he was a Primer fan, liked Jason.
Sure.
So I reached out to him and was like, hey, would you do this? And he was like, yeah, man, as long as it doesn't conflict with, schedule for the Fallen Dreams or the other band Legend he's in.
Sure.
He would be all over it. And then I was like, cool. And I told Bobby that, and I was like, wait a minute, I wonder how his voice would be with Primer. Cause I honestly didn't even think of that side of it. Like it was more of like who has somewhat of a name would be cool to do it. Looks cool. All that stuff. He had all the stuff. I was like, wait a minute, does his voice match? And when this new album, the first single is called What If, it comes out and he's like got a little bit of a Jason flow to him, like a Jason Luttrell flow to him. I was like, oh wow, this could actually be really good. Like he could kind of pull that Jason off. And then in the interview, we talked a little bit about him kind of pulling that late 90s, early 2000s flow and kind of vocal style out of him, man.
Very cool, man. Well, maybe you'll get your chance at some point to make it happen.
I posted some photos of me from the Primer era on Instagram, and Bobby commented on them. I'm like, dude, let's get the band back together. And he goes, maybe someday. And I'm like, dude, we ain't getting any younger.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's tens of us that are still waiting, dude.
I know it's it. Like you, you and Chad Rulig are probably the only ones that would be waiting.
Well, that's two.
Dude, we were huge in the Midwest. We could pull off a huge Midwest tour.
Dude, you guys were. Primer 55 was big here. I know it was a big band here in Cleveland.
Yeah, that was a good show. The what was that? The
Ron's Crossroads or something?
No, it was
where were you
somewhere. I don't know. Is it? I don't even have that on the wall anymore. I think it was like I don't know. We've talked about it. The Agora or something like that.
The Agora, the Odeon or somewhere. I forget where it was.
Places, but yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. Good time in Cleveland.
Cool.
Well, let's dive into some news. Let's see here. Let's dive into the Fear Factory off the top.
Okay.
They've released some footage now with Milo Silvestro on vocals, man. And what are your kind of early takeaways from him on stage?
Well, let's see. I have a lot of takeaways, actually. Number one, Dino full of shit with his I want my individualized guy that brings his own flavor to the band. The guy sounds like Bert. He looks like Bert. He has the same stage presence as Bert.
Yeah.
He has the same haircut as Bert.
Right.
He's Bert. And that's okay with me. Honestly, I didn't know what to think, but it was definitely cool. From what I heard, it sounded real good. That the recording of Shock, from wherever that was that Phoenix or somewhere? The recording of Shock, especially, I was really digging. And I didn't like that they fucked over the San Francisco crowd, but that's neither here nor there. As far as just the guy and his performance, I thought, this could work. It's a good fit.
Yeah, I think it sounds great. Like I watched some more videos today from like Spokane, Washington or whatever. And he, like you said, looks like him, sounds like him, same haircut, same stage presence, same everything. And honestly might be a little bit better of a live singer than Burton. Burton, if you go back and watch old videos of Burton in the band, not the greatest live vocalist out there. Like he's fantastic in the studio, but not always the best in a live performance. So you got Milo out there, like actually Milo sounds like how Burton should sound. And so I think if I go to the shows, I'm into it. It was funny to kind of see him doing the whole, like, let's get your fist in the air. And he was like making everybody clap and stuff. And that part of me is like, get out of here, dude. Like, get a few shows under your belt before you start, telling me what to do. Like, sing the songs, monkey.
Yeah, exactly. Entertain me, fool.
Right. You do something for me before I do something for you.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm generally excited for it, man. I definitely want to see it myself now because the guy looks like he brings it. And you touched on it, but I think it's a big part. Bert never was good live. He was okay. He was adequate, but never did he live up to the records. This guy sounds like the records on the stage. And that is a definite upgrade in Fear Factory. So I'm all in. I'm, I hope now Bert puts together a band and plays these songs too. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't mind. I would go see Replica featuring Bert and C. Bell, as well as I would go see Beer Factory featuring Dino Cazares. Why not?
Yeah, and hopefully we will get some answers to that soon. How about that?
Yes.
Little teaser out there for everybody.
Ooh.
A little tease. Mouth. That's what we call a tease in the radio business.
That's right. Hooks in my mouth. I can't wait to hear.
Another thing about this tour is Static X and the Xero, the new mask, and this. Have you seen the new stage get up he's got going?
Yeah, with the wired arms and stuff. Yeah,
it's like he's got like the light up eyes, and the hair is, I guess, like, part of the mask, which I'm assuming that whoever Xero is, I guess we'll never know. But whoever that is, I guess got sick of spiking his hair up every night. He's like, what if we just made kind of a cyber Wayne Static? Sure. And I think it looks a little silly. Like the whole death mask thing was rough, and then now this is rough too. I'm like, I just don't know, man.
Yeah, I'm not digging Electronic Ghost at all. Yeah. And that's really what it reminds me of a bad clone of Tobias from Ghost.
Okay.
It's like, not feeling it. Just take off the mask, say you're Etzel Dope, and play the songs.
Whoa. Who says it's Etzel Dope? Like,
well, considering he talks about every damn show and says, if it's me, it's him.
No,
it's the same as that OJ book, If I Killed Her, or whatever. Same exact thing.
Slightly different, but
same thing.
Same. No, I mean, Etzel just helped him out in the studio. I don't even know where Etzel Dope is right now.
Well, he's out on the Static X tour.
He's 2 bands before Static X.
Yeah.
Talk
just
about it.
Time to get a cup of coffee and get back on stage. Allegedly.
I think if you get Tony Campos in your band, your lead singer better look out, because Tony Campos is now up there with fake Fear Factory and now fake Static X. So.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
So if Tony Campos shows up at band practice, the singer might be like, ugh.
Or maybe Tony Campos in your band is a good idea, because it means it doesn't matter who the singer is.
Right? It's like, as long as you have Tony Campos.
I'll take the positive side of it. If Tony Campos is in your band, it really doesn't matter who else is in the band. It'll still be okay.
I want to dive into this one story. A band that I've actually really been listening to a ton of lately is Polyphia.
Okay.
I recommended them a few weeks ago. They've got a song with Chino from Deftones. And I've just been getting into them. I mean, they are not like, if you're like, dude, I want some Death Angel or Deicide or Slayer, you're probably not going to go to Polyphia, but they're like, they've got like their prog moments. They've almost got like a pop rock moments to them. I mean, they've got, they kind of run the gamut. I mean, they're definitely a proggy band, kind of the new gent proggy band with the, players that are way too good to be playing metal kind of stuff.
Right.
But he came out, Tim Henson is the guitar player. Probably no relation to Jim Henson, but, he had a term for, like a classic rock guitar player when the thing to do in the 70s and the 80s was the bend, the wow, like, very Ace Frehley, all that stuff, Jimi Hendrix, that's like the thing. And he came out in an interview with Rick Beato and called it a boomer bend, like a boomer bends. And so obviously boomers are not going to be too happy with that.
Would boomers ever know who this guy is in the first place?
Probably not, but they will now.
Okay.
It says boomer bends is a term coined by Rick Beato and I. It describes a very specific guitar bending lick commonly used in the 60s and 70s, the age of the baby boomer. The more twang you give it and the more old guy you make it sound, the more boomery it is, I suppose. But we didn't make the term in an offensive way. It's more because it starts with a B and Ben starts with a B, and it became a catchy phrase, and many baby boomers just got upset at that term. But that's all right, because it's just a way to describe a sound.
Okay.
So it made me think, and I know you've got an old friend named Randy, and I have an old friend named Randy from when I was like 12 years old. He was, I lived in a kind of a shitty apartment complex, and I remember like going over to his dad's apartment, and his dad had like car parts all over the house, like in an apartment complex. Like he was just always, working on cars and motorcycles, but also in an apartment, which made no sense. But whatever. But I remember to this day, I remember him going like, Jimi Hendrix was never any that good. He just bent notes. And like as soon as I heard someone talking about or boomer bends, I was like, that reminds me of Randy's dad. He would just go on and on about how Jimi Hendrix was not a good guitar player, which I do not believe. I believe Jimi Hendrix, a fine guitar player, but yeah, he would just like, he wasn't ever any good. He just bent notes. So.
Oh, all right. I don't know. I'm sort of with your friend Randy on the Jimi Hendrix. First of all, I never really thought he was amazing. I mean, for the time, I guess, for the time when everybody else was strumming "She Loves You" and stuff, I guess, yeah, maybe he was innovative for that time, but 2 years later, Tony Iommi came out and just changed the whole goddamn game. So,
right.
I don't know. I never was huge into Hendrix either. That being said, whatever. I mean, you can call it the boomer game all you want, but there's Zakk Wylde out there still doing it. So,
right. Yeah. But I mean, I guess I would say he's relevant, but I mean, he's borderline, boomer bends.
He's boomish.
I mean, honestly, one of the biggest bands that does the boomer bends thing the guy's talking about is Ace Frehley at Kiss. I mean, like when you talk about an Ace Frehley solo, it's the bendy, noted guitar solo there.
Right.
Which will lead us into our next topic.
Okay.
Kiss has announced the final concerts ever.
Goodbye.
This is the end.
Bye.
Oh no! Come on now, Chris. We are a positive show, and we love everything here. At the
I'm positively saying, see you later.
Oh man, I mean, I've seen Kiss now, I guess twice on the end of the road tour.
Okay.
They played Louder Than Life, which is kind of a throw-in freebie. And then we saw them. I got to take my little one to the arena here to see him, and we watched about 5 slots. Had to get him out of there. I think he was only like 5 or 6 at the time, maybe 5. So
light overload and shit.
Yeah, but I mean, he had a blast. It's kind of like if you're going to take a kid to their first concert, we obviously had seats up high, and bought him the cool earmuffs or whatever. Like you're going to the gun range, but yeah, he had a blast there. He's like still talks about Gene Simmons licking his bass and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, Kiss was like the band that got me away from kind of pop radio and like maybe start listening to like heavier stuff. And obviously the Kiss, turned into the White Snakes and whatever of the world, and then took me right on to Metallica City. But Kiss will always hold a small place in my heart for Kiss. And I hate to see kind of what the band is today. I don't know if there's like an Indianapolis show, which is obviously close to me on these final 19 dates.
Right.
I was like, I mean, that's like it was like the 4th to last show.
Okay.
I was like, well, I might go up for that, but probably won't. But yeah, I was, I guess I'm sad to see it go, man. But yeah, 50 years. The band will basically end up 50 years back, 2 shows at Madison Square Garden. I mean, if you're going to go out, that's the way to do it, man. If you're from New York.
Yeah. Look, as much as I'm not a Kiss fan, which I'm not, I just always found them to be tremendously non-talented players, which to me is like, ugh, anytime you have to make more show to make your show tolerable, that's never that good to me. Yeah. But that being said, hey, I can't sneeze at A, the 50 years, B, the unbelievably loyal fan base, and C, they really haven't compromised too terribly much ever. I mean, they've been trend jumping idiots constantly, but they did it their way. It wasn't like other than that one short period in the 80s where they tried to be a hair band.
Yeah.
Because they were clearly being outdone by the hair bands, and was that like Hot in the Shade era type, with the Silver Spoon and Forever and stuff like that. Other than that one little period of time, they've done it pretty much the way they wanted to, and they've always been against the grain. And Lord knows they taught every band known to man, be it the smallest band to Metallica, they taught them all how to make money. That's
Yeah.
for sure. So
Oh yeah.
you can't take that away from Kiss. For the diehards that are completely excited about these Madison shows, like Mark Striegel and the boys, hey, go to that show, have a great time, enjoy it one last time, so that you have it for your grandkids to say, I was there when Gene Simmons spit blood for the last time. Go ahead.
I
But
gotta pick. Yeah.
for me, not so much.
Yeah, I think I'm good with the two shows I've seen on this tour. I mean, honestly, I'll admit it here. In like 97 when I saw the reunion tour in Nashville, like I was 17 or 18 at the time, and I grew up obviously non-makeup era my whole life, and so when I got to see 4 original members all in makeup right there in front of me,
sure,
like, I shed a tear. I'm not gonna lie. I was just like, I cannot believe I'm seeing this. I just never thought I would ever see it. Obviously now you take Kiss and makeup for granted, but basically my entire up to that point, my entire Kiss fandom was just the Revenge era and stuff like that.
Sure. Meanwhile, and this is gonna make your head hurt, I went and saw them, same tour. Saw them with Deftones opening.
Yeah.
Watched Deftones, watched about 5 songs of Kiss and left. Done.
I get it though. I mean, I know you're a huge Deftones guy.
Oh, yeah. It was suffered through the Deftones hoping to get a good Kiss show. And then they just didn't sound very good. I guess it was before they were using tracks for Paul's voice. And Paul was kind of, hey, everybody. He was like kind of screechy. But it wasn't clean. It's one thing when Paul has that people, you guys rule people. That voice is fine, but when it's like, it sounds like an old lady getting punched in the stomach.
Oh, it's like that. That's how the tracks are happening. Just because, like, even Louder Than Life and the arena show I saw a couple of years ago, where it's just like in between songs, he's like, "Hey Louisville, thanks for coming out tonight. It's so good to see you. Here's Strutter, and like right into perfect pitch vocals. You're like, all right, Paul, good job, buddy."
Yeah. Well, I'd like to hear him sing Strutter. He doesn't sing Strutter, does he?
Oh, I don't know.
Isn't that Gene?
I don't know. Probably. I'm not.
Or maybe it is. I don't know. I can't. Or I'm thinking of Deuce, maybe.
Yeah.
She's worth a deuce. Anyway, whatever. Again, I am not a Kiss fan at all. It could be fucking Eric Singer singing for all I know. I don't know.
Well, it isn't his name. I guess we'll kind of parlay this into another thing, but obviously I do hope to see Ace and maybe even Peter out at these last 2 shows, come out at the end of the set, do a song or 2 or 3 or 4, kind of end it like that.
Dude, you got to admit, if they don't, at least for the final show, if they don't bring Kulik, Ace, Peter,
Mark St. John.
Mark St. John's Kiss casket, dig it up, bring it up. If they don't bring every living former member of Kiss, Vinny Vincent, honestly, Vincent too.
Yeah,
Vinny Vincent should be up there as well.
Invited to the last show.
He should be there. He should be there playing guitar for Lick It Up or something.
That'd be cool.
With a 45-minute guitar solo to make Paul nuts once again.
I just don't see Kiss being that cool and being, because obviously we've talked about so many tracks and things like that. So if they were to pull up, Bruce Kulick and Ace and Peter and Vinny and like everybody that's kind of been through the band at some point, they would have to stray so far from the set list that they're doing now that I don't even know if it would work. Or
they may just do it the way that sucks, but it will please the fans enough anyway. Yeah. Just the way they did it on Unplugged, which is bring them all up at the same time, do rock
and roll all night
and be done with it.
Yeah, everybody gets like a quick solo or something,
Yeah,
I guess I could see that, like the end of the Big Four concert where they all got up and did "Am I Evil?" Something like that.
Mm-hmm. Something like that could work, and as long as it's a Kiss song that they've all played at some point, then it should be fine.
Yeah, right. Maybe they should take some notes from the Talk To Me podcast. So you could do Rock and Roll and I with every former member that you can find. And
you hear that, Gene? We're telling you what to do.
Now, if they do that,
we're taking all the credit.
And I know how much you love when former members of bands get up with their former bands.
Oh, it's always a thrill to me.
I know that's what you go to see these shows for. Ex-Megadeth guitarist Marty Friedman jumped up with his former bandmates in Tokyo and did Countdown to Extinction, Tornado of Souls, and Symphony of Destruction. Right. I watched the videos on these two, man. It was just cool to see him up there kind of rocking and he wasn't maybe as metal as the other dudes and just kind of had his own style up there, man. I was happy to see Marty Friedman back with the boys up there.
It was a little weird to see him doing windmills and stuff.
Yeah.
That was because that was not something that he used to do either. Yeah. He never was that kind of a performer, but I think it was in Tornado of Souls when he goes back by the drum riser and started doing windmills and stuff. I was like, wow, look at Roger Daltrey up there.
It's a tornado, man.
Yeah, I guess it was a tornado of his soul, I guess. But yeah, if you're a Megadeth fan and that pleases you, that's cool. But to me, that's always just kind of the magic was Rust in Peace. The magic was Ellefson, him, Menza, Mustaine. That ain't there now. Now it's just, okay, friend, come on up and strum your shit with me.
Hello, friends.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it is, though. It's just a friendly gesture. It's not like the magic was back. And let's be honest, who picked the fucking songs?
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to get into. I mean, they made such a big deal about Marty might be coming up. And here's a full-on announcement about Marty getting up with them. And they're going to do Countdown to Extinction, Symphony of Destruction, and then Tornado of Souls. It's just like, yeah. I want more Rust in Peace.
Was Train and Consequences taken or Crush 'em? I mean, Jesus, could they have picked a worse three? A Tout Le Monde, was that not available? I mean, come on. I wanted to hear, like you, I wanted to hear Holy Wars. Tornado of Souls was good.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear the fast stuff, though. I wanted to hear the stuff that people just creamed over, the double guitar, just straight up assault.
Yeah.
And instead you get Train of Consequences or not Train or Symphony of Destruction.
Souls, yeah.
Tornado's a good tune, but the other two, not so much.
Yeah. It probably would have been worse if you would have got like Sweating Bullets, kind of just a da-da-da. Like not much going on up there, but yeah, I do enjoy these these mashups of the old guys getting up and doing whatnot. And I would love to see, like we've seen over the years with Newstead jumping up with Metallica here and there, 30th anniversary stuff, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, things like that. Like it's just like, yeah, that's cool, man. I would love to see Newstead do a little bit more.
I don't know. I guess I take it from the standpoint of when these guys first leave, these guys go out of their way to tell me how the new guy is better.
Right.
So then I don't want to see the old guy anymore. Like, all right, I moved on. I'm Team Keiko as far as Megadeth goes. He's the guy now, so now I'm on his team.
Can you believe it's been 20 years since Robert Trujillo has been in Metallica?
I did see that, and I was like, wow, that's a long time.
And he's still just the new guy. Like he's always going to be the new guy to me.
Yeah, well, he's the one guy that can still bring it. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely bringing it. Metallica's James Hetfield is to star in a dark Western thriller called The Thicket.
Wow. Is it filmed on his complex out there in Colorado?
Well, actually, it tells you right here. According to Deadline, Metallica's James Hetfield has a role in the upcoming dark Western thriller The Thicket, based on Joe R. Lansdale's novel of the same name. You a big fan of Joe R. Lansdale's?
Oh, I have all his movies.
I would assume it's
books or whatever he does.
Production on the film, starring and produced by Game of Thrones alum Peter Dinklage, is underway in Calgary, Canada.
So it's a short film.
Well, here's another joke. Yep. Are you ready for this joke?
Okay, go ahead.
Dinklage will play Shorty, a bounty hunter enlisted to find a woman who has been kidnapped by her violent killer.
Wow.
Yeah. The movie, which is set at the turn of the 20th century, follows Shorty and his fellow trackers as they travel into a violent and chaotic place known as the Big Thicket.
Oh, Hetfield put himself into this, huh?
Well, actually, the Thicket also starred Juliette Lewis. I'll take that. Esme Creed Miles. I'm not sure that name off the top of my head. Levon Hawk, Leslie Grace, Malcolm Blair, or Macon Blair, Ned Dennehy, Andrew Schultz, and Arliss Howard. So,
All right,
give me Peter Dinklage, Juliette Lewis. I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take those two. Yeah, and I mean, it may be again. We're judging this off of a script we haven't heard and a plot we don't know and whatever. But I will say this: the one time that I know that Hetfield acted before, he did quite well when he was
the cop.
The cop in that wicked bad Ted Bundy movie, whatever it was.
Back in 2019, Hetfield had a small part in the Netflix thriller Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile.
Yeah, the Ted Bundy story is basically
the Ted
what
Bundy,
it was.
played by Zac Efron.
Yeah, that was kick-ass, and the cop was kick-ass that he played. It was a good little role for him. So, hey, I'm happy to see Het getting ready for his post-Metallica. You know, I'd rather see him just transition to movies instead of crying on stage. So, you know, about how much he hates being in Metallica anymore. So finish this tour in 2 years and go and do movies. I'm for it.
4 years ago, Efron praised the Metallica guitarist, vocalist acting chops during an appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live, saying, James Hetfield, to his credit, absolutely nailed the part. He crushed it. It's like he's been acting his whole life. He had no fear. He did a great job. I was ready to maybe give James Hetfield an acting tip, but he didn't ask for a single one. James Hetfield is the shit.
Well, take it easy, Zach. He was in like about 45 seconds of the movie. Let's
playing basically himself.
Yeah, let's ease back and just admit that you're a fan of Metallica and you were awestruck by the Metallica guy being on stage with you, or on set with you, rather. Just ease up.
Do you really think Zac Efron's a big Metallica guy?
I kind of do. He seems the part, you know. He seems like a guy that, you know, like a man's manish type of a dude. You
Back
don't think
on
so?
Those, in between takes in High School Musical, he was cranking, Fixer and
Sure,
Fuel.
Of course.
Zac Efron seems like he would be probably into like the reload era.
Oh yeah, I doubt very highly he's riding the lightning with anybody, but you know, he's probably taking a load or two. Never mind.
Oh, geez, Pete. Well, and then in other Metallica news, they share a music video for their new song "If Darkness Had a Sun."
Yes.
Man, of the three new songs, I think they just kind of keep bumming me out more and more. Like I am just the intro to this track alone. Just I just see Lars doing this for so long live, like just because it's like, man, I can't believe Metallica played for 3 hours, blistering set, and you're like, well, 22 minutes of it was the intro to "If Darkness Had a Sun."
Yeah, and another 10 for "Now That We're Dead," which is the same song.
Right.
I don't know. I like the song personally. I think it's pretty good. You know, I mean, it's definitely, look, they're judging the 3 songs already.
Yeah.
The old days are gone. And I think everybody has to accept that. There's no Ride the Lightnings left. There's no Kill 'Em Alls left.
Yeah.
When you get a heavy song from Metallica today, it's them pretending that that they're those guys that they used to be 35 years ago when they do Hardwired and stuff like that. That's like an imitation of the great Metallica by Metallica. The other 2 songs that we've gotten so far now, the Suicide song and this new one,
Luxy Turner.
Yeah, Luxy Turner was a little more pretending to be a metal band.
Right.
But these last 2, they are what they are. They're that period between the Black Album and Load sounding, and they're rock songs. Metallica's a rock band now. They're no longer a thrash band. No matter how much influence they had on the metal scene, they're a rock band now. A good rock band, but a rock band.
I still say that they kind of bamboozled me with this whole thing because they post Luxy Turner. They're like posting tour dates. Like Luxy Turner reminds me of like Kill 'Em All with like Garage Days, production. I'm pumped that they're coming back with, some double bass and some thrashing and whatnot. Post a tour with Metallica. I'm instantly buying tickets that are way too expensive. And then the second single comes out and I'm like, oh, I don't know about this one. And then this last single comes out and I'm like, oh, this is just, this is what Metallica is now, and it is not a bad thing. I mean, like we said, Death Magnetic, Hardwired, two good albums. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like both those albums a lot, but Metallica is that band, and they're not Lux Eterna. They're more amalgamation of the last two albums.
Well, and there's things that they just prove over and over again now that they're not capable of doing anymore, like writing a disciplined song. Yeah. I agree with you that the intro to this song at 1.5 minutes before you hear Hetfield's vocal, that's way too long, and that is way too without being a prog metal band. It's almost Dream Theater-ish of completely discipline lacking. I just want to hear myself play because I'm the great Metallica, and it's like, just get to it. Just give me 10 seconds of intro and then get to Hetfield barking it out, and especially this new song too. I'm a little surprised that they released this new song just because it's a rehash. And I think it's the first time Metallica has done that as a single. They've rehashed music before, but this song, at least the lyrics to this song, was in Some Kind of Monster as that song Temptation that they didn't release. Well, now it's been reworked a little bit. Now it's, this new Dark Sun song. And I was a little surprised that they did something so blatant like that, but at the end of the day, you know what? I don't care. I think I told you this off air. Or I might have told you this in Talk to Me recording number 1. I don't remember. But
of the lost episode. But
the more they're releasing stuff right now, the more I'm leaning toward actually seeing them. I have tickets to the Ford Field show in November. It's coming up. It's almost here. Ford Field in November.
Right.
But I fully intended to going to the show, seeing Wolfie Van Halen, seeing Pantera, and driving home. Get just blowing Metallica completely off and being home by it's like a 4-hour drive. So being home by 1:00 in the morning ish, which isn't too bad, But now that I'm starting to get into these songs a little bit, I'm like, I'm going to stay for Metallica. And the more we go further and further, I'm like, maybe I'm going to get a room for 3 days in Detroit, and maybe I'll see Metallica the second night too. Just because it's still a huge show. It's the biggest show you can see. I don't, even if you look at a video of Metallica today, and you even compare it to I don't know, what's the second biggest show we can think of right now? That stadium tour last year, the Motley Poison thing, whatever, which I didn't go to, but I saw a bunch of videos of it.
Right.
This is still a much bigger production. It's the biggest production in the world for other than Rammstein. Rammstein has a bigger production, I think, but this is the biggest that you're going to get other than that of a band that you like. A band that you know all the songs to. So I'm like, you know what? This tour is going until 2024. They're closing in on 50 years themselves. It's been made pretty clear that Het doesn't really like doing this anymore. Lars certainly doesn't like practicing to do this anymore.
Right.
So with all that said, we're closing in on the end. And it's like, maybe I better stick around and see these shows. That's kind of where I'm leaning toward now is, why not? I already paid for the tickets, so why not see it?
Yeah.
Why not see it and have some fun? And maybe it might be the last time. I mean, dude, I hate to sound this negative, but one of these guys could easily die.
Yeah.
They're in their 60s, right? They're at least 60.
Yeah, I think they're all right at 60.
Yeah, I'm sure they get the best healthcare known to man and all that stuff, but still, that lifestyle is not exactly known for producing 100-year-old people. And Metallica, who's toured more than them in the last 40 years?
Well, their lifestyle determines their death style.
That is true. So their death style might be fast and furious.
Let's see here. Birthdays. Wow, famous birthdays. Get out of here. Wikipedia.
That's all
right. James Hetfield, born August 3rd, 1963. So yeah, 59.
He's 60.
Yeah, he'll be 60 this year. Lars will also be 60 in December. Kirk, older or younger? What do you think?
Younger.
Kirk is actually older.
Really?
November 18, 1962. So he's already turned 60. Trujillo.
23.
He might as well be 20.
Oh, does that tie?
Born October 23rd, 1964. So he is 58.
Oh, I didn't realize he was the same age as those guys.
Yeah, I would assume he was much younger. But
yeah, I guess when you think about it, he did come up at the same time with Suicidal or whatever. Infectious Grooves. One of those. Which was he in? Was he in both?
Both. Yeah, he was in both. Yeah, so good for them. Bunch of 60-year-old dudes out there playing metal.
And doing it at the top of the game. There's nobody bigger.
No, not at all. Not at all. But yeah, I would definitely, and plus you're going to be going to Detroit and you'll have that day off in between. You can maybe go sightsee,
sightsee in Detroit.
Go see some empty buildings and the old Ford plants or whatever that's probably closed down up there.
That's a city that even with the gun, I don't feel like walking around. No. I'll be hibernating in the room with the door barred.
A couple weeks ago, we talked about clickbait interviews or headlines and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so Steve Vai has come out and he's having to clarify his Ozzy Osbourne comments, and he apologizes for the quote unquote confusion.
Okay.
So I don't know if you paid attention or not, but recently, I guess Steve Vai has said that he has basically a full Ozzy record, in his vault. He back from what years was that? What did that have been, around Osmosis or something?
Yeah, 96, 97.
Yeah. So Steve Vai has clarified his recent comments that he had enough material recorded with Ozzy Osbourne for a full album. In an interview with Eon Music, the guitarist said that he was, quote, sitting on a whole Ozzy record, adding that he couldn't do anything with the material because they didn't have any rights to it. But now in a social media post, Vai revealed that while there was enough music written for a whole album, the songs were never completed and would require re-recording before being released to the public. So Steve wrote, in a recent interview, I spoke a bit carelessly about, quote, sitting on an entire Ozzy album, and then the clickbait headlines went viral.
Okay.
So, I mean, he said it. He literally said, I'm, quote, sitting on an entire Ozzy album.
Sure.
And then he said the clickbait headlines went viral. I'm like, what? How is that clickbait when you said it?
Well, have you ever interviewed Steve?
No.
I interviewed him, a year ago? Maybe not even a year ago for his new album, that In Violet record. You can catch that on YouTube if you want to hear it. And you might want to catch it on YouTube, not necessarily for the interview, because the interview's all right. I mean, it is what it is. But he is a guy that really spends a lot of time. You can tell when you're interviewing him, he's calculating. He's not, hey man, who'd you like playing with? Oh, I'll tell you who I hated playing with. He's never that guy.
Yeah.
He's a guy that whatever question you ask him, he's like, well, I think, he figures out his answer before he spits it out of his mouth.
He hits you with one of those. Now that's a good question.
Yes, he does.
Give himself some time to.
Yep, he's one of those guys that definitely does that. Yeah. And I think for whatever reason, when this interview happens, this is probably one of those rare times that he didn't do that he just spit something out real quick. And he regretted doing it. So I'm not gonna shit on him too bad on this one, because at least, look, there's a lot of guys that would just say, "Oh, it's bullshit." Yeah. That's not what I meant, or that, or just not said anything, just left it alone, just to get cheap pop for the next fucking 6 years of, every time Ozzy has a quote, it would be in the somewhere deep in the Blabbermouth story that don't forget Steve Vai has an album, So I think I'll applaud him for that. I'll be honest. If he did have an album with Ozzy, I'm glad he doesn't do it. Glad it doesn't come out. Yeah. I don't think that would be good. Do you?
Oh, I
don't think it's the right kind of player.
Yeah, well,
It'd be
I don't know. I think it
like
could
a
be
White
fun.
Snake. It'd be the same as the White Snake. It just didn't work.
Yeah, it says here, to clarify, Ozzy and I got together back around 96 and spent some time trying to come up with some potential songs for an album that he already had half recorded. The record later came out as Osmosis. We demoed a handful of tracks, and then there was a bunch of tracks I built for him to check out. He ended up picking one song to use on his album, and that's My Little Man. It was re-recorded with his band, and it came out great. I only one other demoed track from those sessions had an Ozzy scratch vocal on it, and I handed it all in all the master tapes to the label and kept safely mastered tapes of the tracks I personally built. All in all, there was quote unquote enough music for a whole record, but those songs would require re-recording. The demos are a bumpy roadmaps and just not the goal. Which I read a comment. I wish I had the comment up here. Basically, someone said, wait a minute, even if it's not a whole album, you're telling me that you have Osmosis tracks with Steve Vai playing on them. Like, I want to hear that too. Like, there's people that want to check out that just to see the differences.
Well, it certainly couldn't be worse than the Andrew Watt stuff. So,
right.
I think I mean, I wouldn't mind hearing it. I don't know that I want a whole album of it. I certainly do not want a band situation with Steve Vai. I just don't think Steve Vai fits the Ozzy side. And again, I'll go back to the White Snake thing. And I saw that tour, the White Snake Kittens Got Claws or whatever that album was called. Right. It just didn't work. It was and quite honestly, I didn't think he was that great in David Lee Roth either. Ooh, I know some people will argue that point all day, which Eat 'Em and Smile is a pretty good record, but Skyscraper's not. And, and that's all Vai. That's, if you listen to Passion and Warfare and you listen to Skyscraper, you hear kind of the same sort of thing. It's like, nah, not my thing.
Steve Vai's going to come for you, man.
He's cool. I mean, I will say, look, I love Steve Vai as far as being a player. And I think he's probably the number one guy. I know a lot of people now lean toward like Yngwie or whatever. I think I would take Vai over Yngwie. I think he's far more creative. But, there's certain guys of that caliber. I mean, would you want to see Yngwie in a band with Ozzy?
Yes.
No, you wouldn't. Stop it.
Give it all to me.
Yngwie wouldn't want to see that. I do not need another singer. I'm the best.
I can do it all.
I am a better singer than Ozzy.
Yeah, if you want to see that, you might as well just see Zach do the Ozzy stuff.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, Zach's a great player. Zach, I would say Zach is pretty close to on par with Steve Vai, just in a different style. He's a different stylistic player than Vi. Vi has never proven it as a rock guy. Vi has proven it as a virtuoso with some rock influence. To me, and see, I'm sure
I would. If you want to ask my personal opinion on this stuff, I would take Zach all day long over Steve Vai. Mm-hmm. Like Zach, because Zach has feel and Zach has a more of a kind of a metal presence to him.
Sure.
Whereas, Steve Vai can do all the tricks and all the scales and all the runs and all the chords and, to where, maybe Zach might not be able to do all of that, but Zach is more of a metal dude. Like, Zach falls closer to Dimebag than obviously a virtuoso like Satriani or Steve Vai or those guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, Satriani, I wouldn't mind seeing him sit in with Dream Theater at some point, but I don't want to see him with Ozzy. I don't think it would work. I just don't think that would be a good fit at all. And I go back to what I said before. I didn't think it was a great fit with David Lee Roth either. When they did it with Roth, they did it for one reason. They needed the most talented guy to say, okay, Eddie Van Halen, you're not the only guy out there that can fucking play. That's why Roth did it. Yeah. And he got the most talented guy at the time, which was Steve Vai.
Which is also crazy if you want to talk about people that have a full album sitting on the shelf somewhere. I mean, there's all that David Lee Roth John 5 record just kind of hanging out and everybody's like, I want to hear that record.
Well, now that we got John 5 just stretching out huge with Motley Crue, do we need it?
Yeah, you probably don't need it. I mean, he's definitely he's taking a nap up there with Motley Crue.
He looks so bored. I keep watching videos of him with this Motley tour.
Yeah.
And he just looks like he's bored. Like he does not look like he's the telltale is like if you follow him on Instagram, there's almost no pictures or video of him playing. It's all him eating or riding on the plane. Like he's thrilled to be riding on the plane.
Yeah.
Because it's all first class, it's all private jet. He's way more interested in that than he is in anything he's doing on stage. And that makes sense because those songs got to bore that guy to tears. He's way too talented for that band.
Yeah, he's way too talented, but I mean, I know he's a big Motley Crue fan too, so it's going to be cool for him to be playing those tracks. So,
and he's probably making an ass load of money.
Yeah, and he gets did you watch that plane footage that he posted?
Yeah,
that plane is insane, and it looks gigantic. I mean, I don't know if it's like a fisheye lens type thing on the camera work, but if you go back and watch that, it looks like a giant plane that keeps going forever. That has a ton of like these just immaculate seats and things like that. Man, it's definitely first class.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a first class, and maybe that's why he's doing that, is sharing with his fans that he's graduated to first class, but. I mean, I just watch it. And it's a weird thing because if you look at his career, as talented as that guy is, his band runs have really not been with bands that require a whole lot of guitar prowess.
Right.
Certainly not Rob Zombie. And really not in Manson.
Yeah, Manson wasn't much. Motley Crue might be the most he's had to do solo wise.
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, Manson and Zombie not really known for the guitar solos.
Bands. Yeah, they're just riff bands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely playing more than he would in those two bands, but I don't think he's really showing much off playing Home Sweet Home every night, is he?
Maybe. Let's dive into one last story before we dive into some reviews, recommendations, and whatnot. This is kind of a clash of our worlds here. Judas Priest singer Rob Halford, who joined country legend Dolly Parton on stage last November at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to perform her classic song Jolene, also appearing with them, a part of a super jam where other Rock Hall inductees Pat Benatar, Annie Lennox, and Duran Duran's Simon Le Bon. Speaking to SiriusXM Ozzy's Boneyard host Mark Strigl.
Ooh.
There we go. About what it was like to briefly share the microphone with Dolly, Rob said,
"It sucked. I hated her. She's a bitch."
Close. Yeah. I did the gay hustle and thought, I've got to get close to Dolly. I may have overstepped my mark, but I was gushing. I was a fanboy, and I was kind of cringy at the end. I still haven't seen it, but people say it was great, and that's all that matters. To be so close to her and feel the love that this lady has. She's just this walking beacon of love and happiness. Wow. Enjoy that she spreads, Halford continued.
Enjoy that she spreads?
Happiness and joy that she spreads. I guess she spreads joy.
She spreads. I was going to say, is he happy she spread? Never mind.
Well, this sounds also like this is also James Hetfield's stage banter. Everyone here is a walking beacon of love and happiness.
That's right, friends. In fact, you're all part of the Metallica family.
Hey, Metallica family.
Well, hey, look, the guy was, Rob Halford is elite in the metal world. But for the rest of the world, he's not. For the rest of the world, he's me and you. I mean, he gets up with the people that are not in the metal community, and he's like, oh yeah, Judas Priest, I've heard of them. And then Dolly Parton is probably somebody he's never come across.
Yeah.
And he's into it, and she's a huge icon. Right. I guess it's cool that he's kind of awestruck to meet somebody outside of the bubble in which he is a leader in. That's pretty cool. At least he's excited.
I kind of pushed back a little bit on Halford. I think Halford's he's kind of in that like Alice Cooper, he's definitely in the zeitgeist of fame. I think he probably transcends metal just a little bit. Like I
You
would say
think?
he's definitely not Dolly Parton, but I'm thinking Rob Halford probably. There's probably some grandmas that know who he is from over the years.
Oh, I disagree so fully.
All right.
You think so? You think? I mean, he's never done anything outside of metal, and everything that he's done for these 45 years or whatever,
Yeah,
has always been to be metal. I mean, he's always presented metal and metal. You know, all those Judas Priest guys are always talking about metal. Yeah. They're never like I don't know. You probably did not hear this, but when I interviewed KK Downing, and I know it's a different guy in the band, but the same thing. And I asked him about one of the tunes that Johnny Be Good or something. And he said that they had another song that was chosen to be in Top Gun.
Right.
And then it didn't happen. And KK said the band never had heard of Tom Cruise at the time of Top Gun because they were like so isolated into the metal world,
right?
That they didn't even know who Tom Cruise was. And Tom Cruise at the time of Top Gun was probably his peak, if not, right then after, and for them not to even have heard of him, they're kind of isolated from the world. Yeah. And I just don't look at Halford and think he's like Ozzy.
Well, see, that was my comparison was going to be.
I don't think
Ozzy.
Ozzy's in that world. If Ozzy hadn't done the Osbournes, Ozzy would not be super famous to the housewife in fucking Peoria.
Ooh.
He would just be that scary guy that bit an animal.
Yeah, but I mean, Ozzy's kind of in that Marilyn Manson thing where everybody knew him because Ozzy was so evil because of the bat, biting the heads off bats and all that nonsense.
Yeah, but Halford never did none of that crazy stuff.
Right. Whew, I don't know. I think he would be a tier lower than like the Ozzy Manson, Alice Cooper, kind of the scary, the satanic panic, the people that know them. But I think Rob's up there. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm giving Rob Halford a little bit too much credit, I guess.
Well, let's find some strangers on the street this week and just ask them, "Hey, who's Rob Halford?"
I don't know. I guess I could just ask my wife if she knows who he is. Then maybe I'm onto something.
Hey, might be.
But let's see here. Let's dive into some reviews, recommendations, man. Any TV, any music you've been watching?
TV, I have watched everything known to man. There's not a whole lot that's great. There is one show called The Consultant.
Okay.
I don't know if I said this one last week too or not, but it's really good. It's on Amazon Prime. It's about this. There's this guy. He's like 20 years old. He's a gaming genius, and he forms $1 billion company.
Okay.
And he gets killed, like right at the beginning. He gets murdered. And this consultant that nobody's ever heard of comes in and just kind of says, well, I'm in charge now, and takes over. And he has the paperwork to back it, but it's then it just goes weird from there. It's kind of one of these weird sort of horror, sort of drama, Black Mirror type of a show. Okay. But it's a show. It's like an eight episode arc of a show. And it's really pretty dark and pretty weird and pretty cool. So I would say that as far as TV. And then music, the only music thing I have is something that just hit my inbox this afternoon. And man, does it kick ass. The band Unearth have a new record called The Wretched, The Ruinous. Man, does it fucking kill. Good Lord. They are back with a huge vengeance. I'm imagining you like them because that's right in your wheelhouse.
Oh, yeah. Great band.
Of music. And wow, this new record is off the rails good. So check that one out. The Wretched, The Ruinous.
A couple music things. The Used put out a song called People Are Vomit. I can always, I'm a big fan of The Used from the back in the day. I was kind of skeptical on how the new album would be. So far, so good on that. Definitely need to check them out. I'm going to go back with that. The Polyphia. The latest release is called Remember That You Will Die. It's just you put it on. It's good background music. It's good. It just, I don't know, man. It's just a great kind of proggy guitar record. And, it's
How do you spell that? How do you spell that?
Polyphia.
I'm gonna look that one up.
But they don't have a vocalist, but they've got guest vocalists throughout the album, things like that. Steve Vai actually is on the record. Chino's on the record. A couple things like that. And I don't really know much TV. I think, do we need to kick our Seattle Sea Dragons to the curb and maybe pick a new team, man?
Look, I'm staying with them.
It's been a good 2 weeks, man.
I'm staying with them, but they better learn how to come out after the bell for the second half.
Yeah.
Both games, they were playing well in the first half and just shit the bed in the second half. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see now with March Madness how the XFL handles it.
Yeah.
Now that there's like some competition that's going to be on TV against them. But I don't know what through 2 weeks. Are you enjoying the XFL or not?
Yeah, from what I've been seeing of it, yeah. I mean, so far so good. I like the coach of the Orlando team, T-Buck, was it Terrell Buckley, I believe his name is.
Okay.
He came out and basically they asked him, what do you need to change in the second half? And he goes, I need a whole new roster of players.
Yeah.
It's basically what it said. I mean, they're not sugarcoating anything. I think the scoring thing is cool. I like the 1 point, 2 point, and 3 point conversion. Kind of gives you a little bit of if you're down 9, it's still a one possession game or things like that. So you've got a few things there that I like the scoring, not so many kicking the extra points, things like that. I like the reviews where they're kind of going behind the scenes and saying, hey, we don't have enough angles, to overturn this or whatnot. So keep it as it stands. And then, then they show the guy going, the call stands as called or whatever.
Right.
I enjoy the transparency of the officials.
Yeah. The only thing I would change is I would turn the mics off a little bit. Yeah. It's kind of weird when the announcer you can't hear the announcer because they're calling a play at the same time.
Right.
I would probably tamp that down, and they'll figure that out. And the one thing that you mentioned or you didn't mention that I do like is I kind of like the kickoff rule where you have the players close to each other. And because, in the NFL, every fucking kickoff, somebody gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Every kickoff, somebody gets hurt. I don't think I've seen one guy get hurt on the kickoff in 2 games in 2 weeks. And I think I've watched like six games. And I don't think I've seen anybody get hurt on a kickoff. So I like that rule a lot. I like this league. I'm going to be honest. Do you think it's better than the XFL as far as I do. I think it's
USFL
or the USFL. Yeah. I think the gameplay is better.
Yeah, I would give you that. So far, every game I've seen seems to be somewhat competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a few decent, names in this league.
Yeah,
obviously Josh Gordon showing up on our Sea Dragons.
Yeah,
AJ McCarron out there. Yeah. So, and I like the story if it's true that he turned down an NFL team because he wanted to start and show his kids how his dad the dad could play football or whatever.
Yeah, I saw that story. That's a bit foolish. Come on.
Oh, come on now.
$4 million for 60,000. Come on. That's a bit. Something tells me there's something else to that story. Well, like the $4 million wasn't guaranteed, and he had to make the team. And and if he didn't make the team, he also wouldn't be playing in the XFL. So he kind of thought, well, I'm 30, whatever years old. Because first of all, doesn't he have like a supermodel wife? I believe AJ McCarron does.
I don't know if he's a if I'm remembering correctly, his girlfriend in college went super viral because he was the Alabama quarterback. And they showed his girlfriend in the stands at one point. Everybody flipped their lid that the starting quarterback at Alabama had a hot girlfriend. And
he married her.
Yeah,
he married that girl. And she's not going to accept him turning down $3.9 million so the kids can see a video of him playing 10 years from now. Come on.
I think they might be old enough to go to the games now or something.
You know what? They're old enough to see old Bengals videos too. Take the 3.9. What are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, well, this obviously, I guess, doesn't hurt. I mean, he could go back to the NFL next year and hold a clipboard like he's been doing in the NFL, and he'll get back to it. But he wanted some playing time, man. You gotta get that playing time.
He's proven his worth, man.
Hey, Marcus Mariota got released by the Falcons. Maybe he'll come to our Sea Dragons.
Maybe. Well, we need something. I don't know that we need a quarterback necessarily. We need a defensive team. Just in general, the whole defensive side of the ball is not very good.
I was watching a game the other day, and the backup quarterback was the quarterback for like the New Orleans Breakers from the USFL, and he was like lighting up the USFL. I'm like, why are they not putting that guy was awesome in the USFL? Put him in the XFL. See what happens, man.
Well, dude, and then there's that Louis Garcia guy.
Okay,
that guy's been in every league. He was in the NFL. Yeah. He was in the USFL twice, or the XFL twice, both for the failed version that The Rock bought and now the new one. He was in the USFL last year, and he was even in the AAF.
Oh, nice.
He's been in every single one of these leagues. And I'm like, dude, that should really tell you it's time to move on. If he can't get anywhere with any of these leagues, it's time.
Well, I mean, with all of these leagues showing up, though, I mean, if you've got any kind of talent and any kind of name, I mean, you might as well keep cashing these checks. I mean, they're probably paying more than FedEx is paying. So.
Well, they're paying $60,000. We know what they're paying.
There you go. No, that's better than most entry level jobs. So cash those checks, play some football.
I would hope as a college graduate quarterback that you didn't take your degree in basket weaving. I hope you took something that would make $60,000.
That general studies degree that you have.
Yeah, exactly. Jim.
Jim. All right, man. Well, I think that will do it for another episode of Talk to Me here on notfest.com. Right. Anything coming up on your end of the world?
I am getting back into the interview chair tomorrow morning at 6 a.m.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, awful. To interview, it's worth it for me though. To interview the great Mickey D of Motorhead fame.
Oh, nice.
So since I've dedicated all of my books to Lemmy, I figured I get offered Mickey D, but it's at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, yeah, fuck. Probably still won't even be in bed yet, so why not? Or I'll be in bed, but I won't be sleeping. I'll just be sitting there complaining about my fucking broken wing. So
why not Mickey D, my arm hurts. You should just talk to Mickey D for 20 minutes about your arm.
Mickey, how do you adjust your drumming to when your arm hurts like mine does?
What would you do if your arm
how would you fix it?
You had a nerve injury.
That's right.
I've got an interview with the singer of Avatar on Sunday, but it's like they're in Sweden, so it had to be like, I think it's like 10 a.m. Johannes from Avatar. So
okay, well that's good. That's a good interview.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He's been on the podcast before. Good guy. But so make sure to do all the fun podcasty things, as Chris Akin likes to say. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe, leave a nice comment in the comment section. Tell your friends about the show. Follow the show at Talk to Me Talk on Twitter and Facebook. And for the Talk to Me podcast here, notfest.com. I've been Joshua Toomey.
I am still Chris Akin.
See ya.
Bye, kids.
I messed up the outro there.
That's
and we will talk to you soon.
Yeah, so fuck off.